This week in games, Take-Two joins the industry announcing their own wave of layoffs. A new game dev studio has been created, and we break down the new Nintendo Direct. This is the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 134. I'm your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
Hi.
Hi.
Very unenthusiastic one this week.
You're always unenthusiastic, my man.
Okay, then next time I'll turn it around to be enthusiastic.
Oh, okay. Next time. Sure. Connor, how you doing, man?
Good. I mean, I had a busy work week, but other than that, it's, not angry work. So I wasn't angry while doing it. It was just hard work.
All right,
kind of
just work.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm doing okay. I'm actually, you know what? That's not true. I'm a little pissed off, Connor.
Yeah.
Earlier, before we started the show, I was very, very excited to get some chocolate milk, okay?
Oh,
now, I'm a
okay.
man who loves his chocolate milk. This is the thing about me. I enjoy a good glass of chocolate milk every so often. But here's the thing. I used too much syrup in my milk. Too much. So it tasted like I wasn't drinking chocolate milk. I was just drinking, like, liquefied chocolate syrup. You know what I'm saying? And it just was no good. And the worst part about it, I used the last of my milk. So
Come on.
Now
you got to
I'm
have the guide ratio.
I'm stuck with sweet tea. Usually I have the ratio. What I usually do, Connor, is I put it in a used plastic water bottle. But I don't have any. I didn't have any today, so I was like, oh, that's fine. I'll just use whatever. And then I did what I thought was the normal amount, and it looked too white. It wasn't brown enough, and I was like, oh, this isn't right. So I did a little more, and I was like, all right, that still looks a little light. So I did a little more, and that last one was too much. It was too much. I did too much.
Tavin. See, this is the issue of using your source of chocolate milk as the Nesquik bottle, pouring it into milk rather than just a normal cup, which you're always going to get the same ratio to chocolate to milk in it. But, life sucks. Life doesn't work out. Sometimes your chocolate milk isn't properly mixed.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, getting off the subject of chocolate milk, this here is your Two Penny Gamescast. If you didn't know, every week, me and Connor, we sit down to you, we bring you each two topics, 2 pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. All of our topics are concerning the recent and relevant news of the video game industry. So, if you like, keeping in touch with what's happening, what's getting announced, what's getting delayed, who's getting fired, who's getting hired, etc., stick around, hit that subscribe, hit that like, all of that fun stuff. You can find this every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/2pennygames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. But if just talking about video games isn't enough, you want to see some gamers have some real gaming moments, hop on over to twitch.tv/2pennygames, where every week, except for this week, Phil goes live on Tuesday, 2 p.m. Central Time, thereabouts, and he does some live gaming. Usually, he uses it as his time to play along with our video game book club, the Two Penny Game Club, which is our monthly video game book club that we rank and review every video game we can think of against each other. We just did Hades a few weeks ago. Resident Evil 1, the remake for GameCube, is up now, and we'll be reviewing that in the beginning of March, so keep an eye out for that. Some other reviews to look at. Dead Space review just went live. The Fire Emblem Engage review has been up for a few weeks now, so go check those out. And, Connor, you and I have been reacting this week, haven't we?
We have been a couple times.
A couple times. So, we reacted to the Nintendo Direct, which we will be recapping and talking about a little later on in the show. We also reacted to some Star Wars Jedi Survivor gameplay that went live on IGN. So that's up on the channel, youtube.com/2pennygames. And every week, shortly after the episode airs, we review and react to every episode of HBO's The Last of Us. Episode 5 is up right now. Go check that out. But enough of the housekeeping, Connor. Let's drop some sense on them. This week has been a bit of a light week, I would say, but an important week. A lot of heavy news dropped early in the week, and then from there on, it was not so much. So it's worth noting our final topic of the day. We record on Sundays at about 3 p.m. You can find us streaming every podcast around 3 p.m. over on Sunday, twitch.tv/2pennygames. If you want to watch these podcasts live, you can do that there. But it is Super Bowl weekend. Super Bowl Sunday is today. The game starts at about 5:30, so the game hasn't started yet. The reason I'm bringing this up is PlayStation has been teasing something for the Super Bowl. So we are reserving our final topic to see if that's anything interesting. If it is, we'll come back. Maybe we'll react to it. Maybe we'll just, talk about it and see how we feel about it. Or I don't know. We'll come back and find something else to talk about at the end of the episode. But we just wanted to be on time if something important happened there. Connor, let's get to the first topic of the day. Take-Two planning layoffs as part of a $50 million cost reduction program. This is my first penny. This is a VGC article by Tom Ivan. Take-Two looks to set to make layoffs as part of a $50 million cost reduction program announced on Monday. The Rockstar and 2K Games owner revealed the plan as part of its earnings results for its fiscal third quarter, which ended in December 2022. Quote, in light of the current backdrop and Take-Two's strong commitment to efficiency, the company is implementing a cost reduction program expected to yield over $50 million of annual savings, which it will begin to realize in the fourth quarter of its fiscal year 2023, it said. Quote, the program includes personnel, processes, infrastructure, and other areas, and will primarily focus on corporate and publishing functions. Quote, no thank you, VGC. This cost reduction program is in addition to the over $100 million of cost synergies the company expects to realize from its combination with Zynga, and is not expected to impact the delivery of its robust multi-year pipeline, Take-Two continued. Quote, Take-Two believes these actions, combined with its focus on profitability, growing its scale, will enable the company to maximize its margins as it delivers on its anticipated growth trajectory over the next few years. More details about the cost reduction plan may be confirmed shortly during Take-Two's quarterly earnings call. I mean,
did you read? I didn't hear you read the update. Did you?
I did not. Update. In an interview with GamesIndustry.biz, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick said the company isn't planning a broad-based reduction in its workforce. Quote, we continue to support and build our development teams, and where we have overhead, we have to be very diligent about looking at the overhead, he said. Quote, we don't expect any kind of broad-based reduction in force. We are going department by department and trying to drive efficiency. So, thank you for catching me on that. Totally scrolled over that and forgot to come back to it. Running with the common theme that we've seen for the last couple of weeks, man, the tech industry and the games industry itself are, going through some growing pains right now. We saw massive growth in 2020 because of the pandemic and because things have calmed down and inflation has risen and recessions have started. You see a lot of these big giant corporations having to shrink dramatically. It's unfortunate to anyone who will lose their job because of this. At least they're saying, hey, this is coming, guys. Be ready. Something's going to happen here. And it doesn't seem like they're just going, all right, we just got to cut a bunch of people really fast. They're going department by department and going, damn, you got 10 people too many here. You've got 50 people too many here. You've got, a couple people here that we don't need. We're using these types of resources and we probably don't need to this year, so on and so forth. So Take-Two does a lot of things wrong. I think this is the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, it's always unfortunate to hear about layoffs. And usually on this show, our take is that it's kind of unnecessary or done in a very bad way because they all of a sudden just say, oh, we need to axe our workforce, and they just fire people, which of course is a big strain on a lot of its workers. But in this situation, as you said, they did let us know in advance what was going to happen and gave us a time frame for when it's going to happen. So it's, if a layoff is going to happen, this is the proper way to do it rather than just, jumping out of nowhere and saying, oh, you don't have a job anymore. And once again, based off what they're seeing, it's not just layoffs. It's all in other avenues. How that'll take form, I don't know. I don't run a company. I don't know what it takes to reduce those costs. But clearly they seem to have some sort of plan that doesn't involve just screwing over as many of their people as they can just to save a quick buck.
Now, granted, I don't think any of these companies go out to screw people, but
They don't, but they do. They don't do it intentionally, but then they come out and do it anyway. I didn't know. I didn't know we would do this thing. You know.
I didn't know I did this thing. Essentially, I think this is a better show of leadership than we've seen from some of the other giants in our industry. So it's nice to see, them going, hey, sorry, man, we've done our best, but it's time to reduce costs. It's time to pull things back. It's time to figure things out. And unfortunately, that will mean some people will lose their jobs. Hopefully, all those people will land on their feet. I know it's probably pretty tough going around right now. For a good number of years, we had too many jobs, not enough people. But now, thousands of talented workforce people are now flooding the market and looking around, and those jobs are filling up quick. And hopefully, the majority of them can figure something out, and the others can find maybe another industry or something to work in that satisfies them or some shape or form. But yeah, this is tough. And but at least they're doing it in what appears to be a more respectful manner.
Yeah, and once again, we don't know how that'll take form, because one issue that I always bring up when it comes to these layoffs is generally the heads of these companies get bonuses. It's pretty common among executives all over the country. So they could possibly look into that situation and reduce those bonuses and save cutting off people from their job. I don't even know if that's an option. I don't know if there even are getting bonuses in this case, but it's something always to be wary about whenever you do hear about these stories.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah.
But not everything is heartbreaking here, Connor. We've got some good news here. This came from you. You just dropped this in the chat that I had missed. I don't know if it came earlier this week or whatever. But from CTV News, written by Daniel J. Rowe, new Montreal video game studio to hire 150 to develop fantasy series. A new AAA game studio is set to enter the Montreal market. Krafton Inc. said this week that it will open its first Canadian studio in the city that is home to gaming heavyweights Warner Bros. Games, Ubisoft, Gameloft, and others. Former Ubisoft director Patrick Meth will lead the studio that will hire 150 people in the next 3 years to work on a game based on Lee Yongdo's, quote, The Bird That Drinks Tears fantasy novel series. Quote, our team is currently made up of seasoned talents with a proven track record of successful games, said Meth. We share a common goal to deliver the finest adaptation of the novel and to provide an exceptional experience to gamers. As a fan of medieval fantasy since my teenage years, I'm excited to bring to life a fantasy masterpiece as an ambitious and memorable game. Krafton is one of a number of new gaming studios in Montreal looking to tap into the city's established talent in the industry. Haven opened in 2022 as party for the PlayStation Studios family under the CEO Jade Raymond, who helped create Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs franchises. We've talked about that on the show. Quantic Dream expanded its operations into 2021 and opened a studio in Montreal. Cloud Chamber launched its studio in the city in 2019, along with one in San Francisco, and is working on developing the BioShock franchise for 2K. Krafton includes a collection of independent game developer studios that is behind games PUBG, Battlegrounds, New State Mobile, and Thunder Tier 1. Those must be the ones that do the numbers. It's also worth noting that they also do Striking Distance, which put out last year's Callisto Protocol. The studio has been in pre-development on the fantasy series since 2021. Quote, we are thrilled to open our first Canadian AAA studio in Montreal, one of the world's top cities for video game production, said Krafton CEO C.H. Kim. Quote, the local pool of creative and specialized talent is impressive, and we hope that many will join our team. Krafton Montreal Studio will be our third studio in North America, and we have found a great leader in Patrick, who has extensive experience bringing franchises to new heights. And then we have ourselves a little logo here.
Now, Tavin, I have a question for you.
I have an answer.
Are you going to play as the rooster?
I don't know what the fuck this is that you like. So we have like a little image, I guess, of this is like art for the book or something. You got a giant rooster man and like a little like Hellboy looking guy, and then maybe a elf and a humanoid character. So
To my knowledge, that's from the game. It's artwork for the game. From what I can tell, because I can't see
really
anything about the book having art like that.
interesting. Okay,
But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with this book series, and but it's exciting to hear that we've got some new stuff happening. Some new, a new studio opening. Obviously, is always exciting because now we get to see, sort of a reshaping of industry standards and things. Like I like seeing Housemarque being elevated in the PlayStation Studios team. I like hearing about Haven Studios and seeing what they've got coming. I'm interested to see what the initiative with Perfect Dark is going to do and how that's going to come out. And so whenever something new is announced, I personally get excited because that means that we have potential for new greatness entering the field in a major way.
Yeah, I'm always a big fan for fantasy games, and during this rant, this reading that you went on, rant's a bad word. I looked up the book series. This is straight from the Wikipedia article, so I'm not really being creative here. It's a series of South Korean fantasy web novels by Lee Yangdo, a rare example of the genre Korean fantasy. The stock characters and cliches of normal Western fantasy, such as elves, magic, dragons, and Latin languages, are instead replaced by Korean concepts such as Dokkaebi, Seoram, and the Arazi language, which is based on Proto-Korean. So, as far as creativity goes, this is some new, territory to tread that can really provide us with a cool game. I always like fantasy games, and seeing one that's not done with the generic creatures that you find in a lot of the fantasy games that are made, like the Wikipedia article said, would be a nice change of pace. Oh, and this also looks like it has a beetle in the back of it. Beetle mounts?
Beetle mounts? Connor, maybe beetle home base? Maybe the beetle is your roaming base? Something that you
I don't know.
Come back to talk to your party about?
Yeah, right. I don't know anything about Korean fantasy, so really, sky's the limit as far as my imagination's concerned. I don't know what they're gonna do.
I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, that sounds fun. That sounds exciting. I'm totally cool with being exposed to a new type of cultural mythology or mythos or fantasy in this instance. All of that sounds fun and exciting to me. Anything that digresses from the norm, I'm into, man. I love seeing new things, especially in this industry that's still growing and I think has found its feet, but is definitely like it very quickly turned into we're just gonna do Tolkien. Like with you think of Dragon Age, you think of World of Warcraft, you think of any other fantasy RPG, fantasy anything, and you think, it apes a lot from Tolkien, even some Lord of the Rings games and so forth. So something new and exciting where I'm exposed to something fantastical sounds great to me. You think of like, at least the examples I mentioned were very Western focused, but like you look at Final Fantasy stuff and how the different eras of that switch it up so often and so forth, and you get different types of creatures and stuff and magics and sciences and belief systems in these games that you can find out and explore. All of that's always really fun. So to get Krafton, which is clearly trying to be one of those big dog publishers in my mind, to get them to be confident in opening up a 150-man studio, not a huge studio, but not a small studio either. That's fun. That's exciting. I'm excited to see where all of this lands.
Yeah, hopefully this new trend of all these game studios popping up in Canada actually yields good results, because it's nice to see. We usually talk about how, like we did a second ago, layoffs happen a lot. It becomes harder for some game developers to get jobs, and to see these new ones popping up, giving people more opportunities, you can't really hate it.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. I'm with that 1,000%. It's also nice to just be like, oh, this is cute, this is fun. Let's talk about this like a little bit, as opposed to like, it was a bummer week when 3 of our 4 stories were mass layoffs and tens of thousands of people lost their jobs all at once, and I was like, man, this is tough. This is a tough week. But this week, sure, we've got some sadness coming, but it seems to be handled well. But we've also got some cool, fun stuff that we've never seen before happening here as well. And not only that, Connor, but we are also seeing some cool, fun stuff coming right now. It's here. So we're gonna talk and recap our Nintendo Direct news for the week of February 8th. But I did want to jump in as a quick, just little throw in news story. I'm pulling from a quick IGN article. Nintendo Switch surpasses PS4 and Game Boy to become the third best selling console of all time with 122 million units sold. The Nintendo Switch has now sold 122.55 million units, surpassing the PlayStation 4 and Game Boy to become the third best selling video game console of all time. The figure was revealed in Nintendo's third quarter earnings report, which also announced that 994.3 million units of Switch software have now been sold. Having passed 122.55 million units, the Switch now sits behind just the Nintendo DS at 154.02 and the PlayStation 2 at 159 million units sold. Despite the impressive number, up 8 million from November, Switch sales declined by 21% from 2021, when it sold 18.95 million units in the first three quarters, compared to 2022's 14.91 million units. 5.22 million of these were of the original Nintendo Switch, 7.69 were the OLED model, and 2 million were the Nintendo Switch Lite. So, congratulations, Nintendo, for having a good old time selling out their console and so forth. Cool. Neat. Always fun whenever things like that happen. And, you know, it's worth mentioning all of this, especially because, you know, I feel like almost like the Switch is quietly selling ridiculous numbers. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if I don't know what I'm talking about. But it feels like the Nintendo Switch is selling bazooka numbers, and nobody really talks about it that much. Maybe it's just because of the accessibility of Nintendo. Maybe it's because of the lower price points. Maybe it's because, you know, the Switch is a home console alongside mobile gaming as well. Who knows? But it's awesome to see, and impressive considering that the Switch came in underpowered and is quickly falling drastically behind everybody else at this moment. But to still see that it's still selling great numbers this deep into its life is exciting. But does it mean, Connor, that we're getting an updated Switch 2? Now let's transition here into the Nintendo Direct that we watched this week. We had a reaction up on the channel for it. Connor, you and I sat down and watched it. We kind of recapped our feelings at the end of that. But in case you don't want to go and watch that, Connor, how did you feel about this week's Nintendo Direct?
It was a fun Direct. I mean, they gave us some pretty good stuff. I think I don't want to go too into it right now because
okay, all right.
It's good.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I was excited, hugely excited by quite a number of things that were inside of it, but the first, like 20 minutes of a 43-minute Direct or something like that, 44-minute Direct was long, and we spent a lot of time on a lot of games that I don't care about, specifically the fashion game, Fashion Dreamer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't need a deep dive into that at all. And a lot of the things that I was excited about were ports or, you know, releases of things that, you know, we already knew were coming, or, upgrades to the Nintendo Switch Online service, which I don't personally subscribe to, but it's exciting that things like the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance are coming to the system. And then Tears of the Kingdom trailer. Like, we already knew Tears of the Kingdom was going to be great. Thanks for another great trailer, but that's all we got. And then, some other things, some release dates, which are exciting. But yeah, I think it was just overall, it was okay. It was okay.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff for pre-existing things as well, like Splatoon, Fire Emblem. Obviously, I'll file remasters under that same category since it's not new, but it is a remaster. But like I said, it was all good stuff for the most part. Obviously, like you said, they lingered on some things. It was like, okay, who cares? I would like to say that about Pikmin, but obviously people love Pikmin, or at least there's a group of people that are really big Pikmin fans.
Shout out to Phil, who likes himself some Pikmin.
Does he actually?
He does like himself some Pikmin.
I
don't think he's like a big fan. I think he played Pikmin 3, but he was at a friend's house playing it or something. I don't recall exactly, but yeah, he's excited about Pikmin. Good for him. You know, Pikmin 4 had a full gameplay showing and in a release date of July 21st, which was cool. But Pikmin, like it really did not appeal to me. It did not look entertaining to me, but you know, what do I know? I've never played a Pikmin, but this definitely didn't do the job of selling me on Pikmin.
One game that I was interested to see again was Advance Wars 1+2, since we hadn't really heard much from that due to them being delayed due to Russia invading Ukraine. They thought that was kind of a bad PR move to release it, which seems like they got over that part eventually, because now they're giving us another trailer coming out April 21st. Interested to try out the multiplayer function of that game, because apparently it has a fun multiplayer mode from people who played the original.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then to see what they've done with the full, because this is a remake of the first two games of Advance Wars. I've never played in Advance Wars games, but I like me some tactics, strategy games, and so forth. So I'll probably be checking it out if I have time, because unfortunately it comes out April 21st, like a week before Jedi Survivor. So
that is true.
That's a oof. Well, I want to, and then there's some other stuff coming out in April that I can't think of right now.
Thankfully, this one seems like a game you could just play and have on the side and just pick it up every now and then. I mean, tactics games usually don't require a bunch of consistent playthrough. Not like Resident Evil.
Was that a joke, or was that I don't understand, like...
No, because Resident Evil, because we just played the first one. Without spoiling anything about what we think of the game, I would leave that game for like a day, come back, and be confused where I was.
Okay. Got you. I see.
You don't have to. Yeah, that's kind of a game I felt like I needed to keep playing until I beat it, rather than wait a while and do it throughout the month like I usually do with the games we play.
Yeah, got you. Yeah, for sure. Splatoon 3 got a battle pass DLC. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is getting an expansion pass that was detailed, including a new character, Masha. Sea of Stars had a confirmed release date, which was when?
I don't remember that game.
Gets August release date. I think they just said August is what I remember. Oh no, August 29th is here is what I'm looking at. Okay, cool. Sea of Stars looks great. I'm excited to play that. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom got a new trailer. Looks cool. Cool things going on in it. But it does definitely look like a Breath of the Wild sequel. So, I've been on this channel saying that, Breath of the Wild didn't really do it for me. It did do it for you and for Phil. So, what did you think of the trailer?
I thought it was great. I saw one thing that made me laugh. I saw online was people saying that it's going to be like Banjo-Kazooie, because they showed that you get to make some vehicles. Possibly, or get them at least, and ride them around.
I was curious about that because they looked kind of like put together, constructed, almost like Lego styled and so forth. Yeah. So I was curious if it was like, oh, hey, you're gonna use your little what was it called? The little like keystone thing that you have in the game.
Yeah, I get it.
You're gonna use your Wii U tablet to put together a vehicle, especially with that big like driving thing that they had. I was like, they didn't show that, but it did make me wonder that, and it would be a cool thing to add. Will it happen? I don't know, but it might just be a cool vehicle, which is fine because that works for me.
Not to mention the horse riding kind of sucks in that game.
Yeah, I really
don't like it. So having another way to travel is pretty good. I know they had other ways to travel with like the motorcycle in the DLC, but I never played the DLC. I only played the base game. So people seem to like that though. So it makes sense they're expanding it a little bit more, giving you more options to create ones yourself. But it's, as you said earlier, it is just another trailer from what we've seen. Looks great. We see the map's going to change with how they're going to do weird story stuff. But as far as actually doing something new to give us, that was all they really did. Those vehicles.
Yeah. But I guess, people who are excited about Zelda are going to be excited about Zelda. That game's going to sell. So how much do they really need to market it? I don't know. One thing that really perked my ears, and I think this is where the Direct really picked up and got really, really interesting, was the announcement that Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games are coming to Nintendo Switch Online. Huge collection like the original Zelda, or not the original Zelda, excuse me, Zelda Link's Awakening, Tetris, Game & Watch. Yeah, Super Metroid 2, a bunch of other things are all coming, and you can add filters to old Game Boy games that didn't get Game Boy Color releases and put like a Game Boy Color filter on it to kind of colorize it a little bit. I don't think it's not like meant. It's like not the proper way for the game to be played, but it does look like if the horrid green of the Game Boy hurts your eyes, like it kind of does me. I'll be honest, I don't like that look of games. Maybe playing with some of those filters would be a little fun, and put a little visual life into some of these older games. Which would be exciting. This, I think, almost like justifies. We had the conversation on the reaction where adding this, you can play together or online or locally with friends in certain games. The Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages games of Zelda are on there. A bunch of games are coming, with more to come later down the line. They're really they started small and giving you a lot of value with the expansion pass. To the point to where, if you were like, yeah, I'm going to get that, I wouldn't blame you. I'd be like, no, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Alongside, you already got the NES and the SNES emulators, and the Super Nintendo 64 in previous things with that. So, and a variety of DLC for certain games for free if you subscribe to the expansion pass. They're really just continuously give us more and more value with that service, which is appreciated, and I think now it's actually worth its asking price.
Yeah, because it's $50 from what I'm seeing, which, having access to all those games, it's not too bad a deal, especially for people who played those games back in the day and want to revisit their childhoods, because the Game Boy was very much a childhood memory for many people, including myself. I had one. It was I got $100 from my great grandmother. And I didn't actually buy them. No, I didn't. My cousins bought their Game Boys. I got one shortly afterwards. Never mind. Story wasted.
Okay. But yeah, it was dope. I think it's almost enough for me. If I was one of these just casual gamers who likes playing video games and plays probably most new games or whatever. Basically, if I wasn't doing this, I would subscribe to this and dive in deep to that catalog and see what's going on and all that. So all of that was exciting. They also announced, which I think is the big announcement of the entire Direct, was the Metroid Prime remaster, which came out same day as the Direct. I bought it and downloaded it on stream. You can see me do it in the reaction because I was so excited to be able to finally play this classic. Which I've never played before. I did load it up, played for about, 10 minutes, and then I put it down, and I'm like, you know what? I'm having fun with Dead Space, I'm having fun with Resident Evil, and doing all these things. Let me focus my attention on that, get all of these other games out of the way, and then I will dive into this.
I've yet to dive into it, and I will as well.
But I'm also seeing online that this is a heavy duty remaster. They really did a lot with the visuals, some of the gameplay, added a lot of good quality of life stuff. Similar, I think, almost to the Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion remaster that we got last year, which they really threw in a lot more than they needed to for this, and it makes you sit back and wonder, man. So you did all of this and it's $40. Why couldn't you do this for Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword or the 3D Super Mario All-Stars collection? Why were those just straight up regular ass ports and you didn't do anything special to adjust them to the Joy-Con controllers or, upgrade the visuals at all? But here you did put in all that extra effort. Nintendo's weird, man. They do weird stuff.
I always remember what game was it that they took off? They had this game. It was a Mario game. It was only going to be available for purchase until March.
Yeah, it was the 3D All Stars collection. Yeah,
that's what it was. And then they just said, we're going to do this weird thing that no one ever does and has ever done since, because it's a stupid way to do it.
It was really stupid, but I'm glad this exists. I'm glad it's here, and they've done a lot to help increase playability in the modern era. I know there's motion control stuff on there. I know they added twin stick shooting for modern age first person shooting gamers, which is all exciting and a big help for people like me. So I'm excited to really dive in and get my palate wet with some Metroid Prime. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe 4, Wave 4 DLC coming in spring, brings in Birdo, a bunch of other courses. That's cool. I love that Mario Kart continues to live, but I would also like one for the Switch, which now
Yeah.
it brings me to a question, Connor. We've been talking for years about a Switch Pro, an upgraded Switch, something like that. For years now, we've been talking about that. And I have to sit back and wonder and go, 122 million units sold, software selling through the roof. Oh, also, Tears of the Kingdom is selling at $70, which I think is a very strange move considering it's a sequel to Breath of the Wild. It's probably going to be using a lot of resources of same assets and resources of Breath of the Wild. I imagine the main map is going to be mostly the same. It's just the upper stuff that they've added that is going to be new. And then, of course, all the new gameplay things and the new story and so forth. So, like it's a full-price game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're just giving us an expansion or a DLC or something and that they should discount it by any means. But why increase the price now for this title? You know, on hardware that was outdated when it came out. You know, at least, like, PlayStation justified their choice by upping to $70 and timed it with their new console launch. Does this mean that a Switch 2 is on the horizon? Why didn't you wait for that? Why is this game so special that it gets the upgrade but others don't? Why is Metroid Prime Remaster $40? I would have paid full price for that, a full $60 for that. It's just a weird decision, and I'm curious to where you kind of think we're at with all of this.
Yeah, you know, I think the answer is extremely simple, and it's what I thought up until this point about the game price hikes. It's just they want money. There's no actual logistical reason why. You know, obviously people will say, like, oh, inflation is... But that's never really a proper excuse considering how much money the game industry makes. I think it's simply a matter of just wanting more money. Nintendo, and specifically, they don't really put their games on sale. They're known for constantly just making the game be bought at full price. They added a really shitty system in Nintendo, the Switch store, where you buy games and you get tokens that you can redeem to exchange for in-game currency, in-store currency, and it basically, you know, it's almost useless. You get like a couple of cents every single time you buy a game.
I say $5 maybe once a year.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just they want more money, and they a couple other people already came forward. The big industry, the big players in the field, Sony, Microsoft, saying, "Oh, we're going to raise our prices." Nintendo waited a little while, but then they just did the same thing because they're
to be
just
fair,
like them.
Xbox
They want more
waited
money.
too.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So really, Sony and what was it?
EA did it.
EA,
Take-Two did
Ubisoft, I
it.
think.
2K did it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's solely for the purpose of making more money than they already are. There's no other reason for it. I have a hard because, you know, as you said, this doesn't make sense to be a $70 game, yet it is because they're following that trend.
Yeah.
And they know people will buy them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to dissuade anybody from buying Tears of the Kingdom. No one's going to go, oh, $70, never mind. Like, if you were going to get Zelda, you're going to get Zelda. It's just like, it just feels like blatant greed with, like, the fact that it's a game for a console that's 6 years into its life cycle, probably on its way out with an upgrade on the horizon, I would assume. But even then, how much of an upgrade are we getting? 122 million consoles sold. That's a lot of base to sell too. And it's not like their games aren't selling or they're feeling any real blowback with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet performing awfully. Like, those games came out broken, but they were the best-selling Pokemon games of all time, you know? And then you look around, at just the attachment rate that the Switch has, and it's ridiculous. They're making hand over fist money over here. So why would they want to throw that away with a new console and have a smaller base to buy from, which will eventually grow? But, you know, why risk that? Why do that when you could continue selling us Mario Kart 8 courses and you could continue selling us Legend of Zeldas and ports of Wii U games until we die, you know? Giving us subpar Mario sports games until, you know, we can't remember what a good Mario sports game was. I'm just curious, like, are we getting another console from Nintendo, or are we just going to get, like, an upgraded Switch?
The Switch model just works so well.
Yeah.
What it's able to do, being, you know, carried out as they see fit, as a person sees fit. So
don't get me wrong. The idea of the Switch is going, like, if it's going to happen, it's going to be a Switch 2. It's not going to be like a new gimmick console or whatever, or just a regular home-based console, like just that only works on your TV. That's gone. That Nintendo will never go back to that, and they're just going to continue giving us something that will work for both handheld gaming and uh, um, main console gaming. I'm just curious if like, are they ever going to reset and give us, a substantial upgrade, something that'll work, I don't know, because I also think there's a part of them that wants that number one spot of highest sold console of all time.
Yeah, the way they make games, the kind of games they make, don't really require them to be like PlayStation, to be like Microsoft, where they're having PC level gaming consoles to play, have the newest cool technology and have amazing graphics, run at 60 FPS. They don't seem concerned with it, so I think they are just going to continue with the Switch and just not really deviate from it, especially because the name Switch also has a lot of staying power. Because when someone thinks of Nintendo's main console, since the Switch has already made so much more money, well, Switch 2, it's just going to be called the Switch at the end of the day. With a number attached to it is just going to be for differentiating the two. So it really makes sense that's. And even then, they obviously don't really seem that intent on jumping the gun with it. And they're kind of just riding this wave out as long as they can. That number of consoles sold kind of proves that.
Yeah, I mean, that is I think that is where we're at with this right now. It's just
seems like it.
I really really want something new from Nintendo, something powerful, because that's part of the reason. Like, I didn't really touch my Switch last year at all, and part of the reason why is because games look better everywhere else and they play better everywhere else, and it's really harsh sometimes to go and load up a Mario Golf or something and just see how ugly it is. Now, granted, that's not the case for every game. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 looks great. Fire Emblem Engage looks pretty good for a Fire Emblem game. What's the new game that people are like, oh, this looks great? Oh, Pikmin 4 looks great. Tears of the Kingdom looks beautiful, of course. I don't think it looks like fantastic. Like, these models don't look great, but the lighting and the shading and the art style make up for that and make it look really good. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm ready for what's next from Nintendo, because this was a nice reset from the Wii U era, which did so terribly that they had to pivot out, earlier than everyone else did. So I'm also acknowledging the fact that they started their console generation sooner and they're just playing to the beat of their own drum now. Like, they're not competing with PlayStation and Xbox anymore. But at some point, it's like, hey, like, your first party games sell and they hold you up, but you are alienating literally every other third party out there with hardware that just isn't up to snuff. So what is it going to take for you to go, okay, here's some new, I don't know. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to move into our potential final topic of the day. And we're going to cut to that right now. Okay, hey guys, PlayStation didn't do anything at the Super Bowl, and I figured there's not a whole lot of great news out there this week anyways, so I thought it would be fine if we just hung it up here and called it a day. We're a topic short, and I apologize for that. Next week, we will be up and running. But, as always, you can catch the Piggy Bank, which goes live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Central Time. You can catch a new episode of Hype on Tuesday. Usually Phil puts those up at about 10 a.m., so that'll be up for you. We should be continuing our adventure in Kingdom Hearts 2 for that. You can catch us live every Sunday from about 3 to maybe about 5 p.m. if schedules align, and we can, bulk record all of our podcasts as usual, where we record the Gamescast, we record game reviews, we record the Piggy Bank, all in one block, in one sitting, Sunday at about 3 p.m. to usually about 6 or so. And then later Sunday nights, after The Last of Us on HBO goes live, we go live and we record our reviews and our reactions to those. You can always catch those up immediately after we're done recording them over at youtube.com/2pennygames, along with everything else. Remember, you can find audio versions of this podcast over at youtube.com/2pennygames and mainstream podcast services of your choice: Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. But yeah, really, that's going to be it for this week. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Until next time, have a great time. Bye.